everybody, and welcome to 5-Minute React for the finale of Series 10 of Doctor Who, titled The Doctor Falls. And already we have a problem. You see, this episode was not a 45-minute episode like normal Doctor Who, but was instead a 61-minute episode, which meant that we got an extra 16 minutes of Doctor Who. So how can I possibly react to this episode in 5 minutes when it's so much longer? Well, don't worry. I've done the maths and worked out that to react properly to this episode is actually going to take about 7 minutes. Welcome to 7-Minute React for Doctor Who Series 10 Episode 12, The Doctor Falls. 7 minutes, not 5, 7 minutes, starting now. Okay, I'm glad I've given myself an extra 2 minutes because I have so much to talk about. Firstly, I thought John Simm and Michelle Gomez were brilliant on screen together. And it was certainly really interesting to see where they were going, and also kind of not knowing at various points in the episode whether or not Missy was on the Doctor's side or the Master's side, and then that reveal at the end that it was all a facade and she really was all for the Doctor. But obviously we don't know what happens now, because obviously she's been shot with the Master's laser screwdriver, which, by the way, very nice to see the laser screwdriver make a return, because obviously it was used in The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords, but didn't feature in The End of Time. So it was nice to see it back for this story. But yeah, now obviously Michelle Gomez has said that she's not going to return to play Missy anymore now that Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat are both leaving, so who knows, maybe it will end up being another 4 years before we see another incarnation of the Master turn up. Because, you know, this isn't going to be the end of the Master forever and ever, because, you know, obviously the Doctor Who fan base would lose their minds if that happened. So no, the Master will be back, one form or another. I suppose better talk about the Cybermen. Now, first of all, I'll talk about the fact that we have 3 different generations of Cybermen in the story. We have the Mondasian Cybermen from last week, we also have the 2006 Cybermen and the current Cybermen. Now, as cool as it was seeing all 3 designs of Cybermen together, it was totally pointless to an extent. I liked the way that they did it, in the sense that because time is moving quicker at one end of the ship than it is at the other, the Cybermen have had time to advance and upgrade themselves. That bit makes sense, but overall though, I don't think that having the other types of Cybermen in the episode did much for it. I think that you could have left them out and just had the Mondasian Cybermen there, and it wouldn't have made much of a difference. I also noticed that the Cybermen have very few lines in this episode. So they very rarely talk, which is a shame, because they've gone to all that effort of recreating the Mondasian Cybermen's voice for this story, and they've hardly used it, and I think that's a really disappointing thing, because I was really looking forward to hearing that voice, and I don't think it was used as much as it should have been. And also I noted that the 2006 design Cybermen don't talk at all in this story, which isn't really important. I mean, we heard enough of them talking from 2006 through to 2013, so 2011, 12, whenever it was we last saw them, so I don't think that makes a difference. I did notice in one shot that the 2006 Cybermen had the blue light on their chest, which wasn't supposed to be there. I've also noticed that both them and the Mondasian Cybermen now seem to be able to fly. I don't like that. That's bad continuity right there. That's appalling continuity, because we know that those Cybermen can't fly. You know, that's just basically giving Cyberman evolution over the last 51 years, because the Cybermen first appeared in 1966. That's basically just throwing their continuity out the window, so I wasn't best pleased about that. But otherwise, it was still good. I mean, I love the Cybermen. They're my favourite Doctor Who villains. I love the Cybermen more than any other villain. So obviously, just having a nice two-parter story with the Cybermen in it is going to be something. And oh my giddy yarns, I've chewed up a lot of time already. Okay, I want to talk about the interesting concept with Bill. Now, I love that concept throughout the whole episode of she's now a Cyberman but she can't see it herself, and all of that happening, and that was very, very interesting, and it was a very brilliant way of allowing Bill to still be in the episode despite having been converted into cyber form. Now I want to talk about the ending, having the pilots come back. Oh, for God's sake, why? Stephen Moffat has clearly got this thing about not letting companions die. And I mean, I know that's a thing in Doctor Who. I mean, obviously, you know, it happened in modern Doctor Who, companions just don't die. I mean, they seem, the production crew seems to think that, seems to have got it into their heads now that the companion is never allowed to die. You know, I mean, Amy and Rory jumped off a building and survived. I mean, they didn't technically die, they just lived out till they died of old age in the 1930s. You know, Clara doesn't die because, you know, she gets bloody well rebooted, and now Bill's been rebooted through the pilot, and I'm sorry I can't remember that, because Heather, that was it, her name, Heather, it's only just come back to me now. And it's like, given the experiences that I've had with Stephen Moffat writing for Doctor Who over the last 7 or 8 years he's been doing it, I kind of expected that to happen, but it was a bit of a letdown. You know, it kind of because it renders the emotional journey of Bill stuck as a Cyberman completely pointless, because at the end of the episode, within less than a minute, she is no longer a Cyberman and is now whatever Heather is. Little bit disappointing. Oh God, we got less than a minute. Okay, the bit about next time. David Bradley's going to play the first Doctor. Oh, that's going to be exciting. And this whole idea of the Doctor not wanting to regenerate, that's not only brilliant, but totally in character for the 12th Doctor. I think it's great. Anyway, within the last 30 seconds or so, I enjoyed watching this episode. I think Nardole had a fitting exit, which is a shame, really, because I like Nardole. It's a shame that we probably won't see him again. I could be wrong, but it's a shame. Bill's exit, I was a little bit disappointed with that. I don't wish her to die. I just think that it was a bit of a cop-out. But it was a surprise, I'll give you that. It was a big surprise. But yeah, overall I enjoyed watching it. Oh, and you know, and all of this stuff with Missy and the Master, it was brilliant. Oh, that's time up, but I will just say one thing. I do wish that the Cybermen had a bit more on-screen time than they actually got, because this episode really did more to focus on the characters and the action and also Missy and the Masters. This episode had a lot to take in, and I can see why it was extended. It's a good thing it was. But even with this extended episode, I still feel like the Cybermen should have had a little more on-screen time in this episode than they got. And certainly we should have heard more of that Mondasian Cybermen voice, because they went all to the effort of spending the money to recreate the voice for those Mondasian Cybermen and try and make it as close to the original as they can, and they've barely used it. I mean, that's a big disappointment. I mean, there's always the chance that the production crew under Chris Chibnall's era may decide to bring back the Mondasian Cybermen again. So that would be a great opportunity if they do. But we'll have to see what happens in the future. Oh, one last thing. I know we've run out of time, but I really want to say this because it's the Cybermen and I go crazy about Cybermen. Note to the production crew. The bit on their heads is not supposed to be the weapon. That's supposed to be a headlamp so that they can see where they're going. The bit on their chest here at the bottom, which I believe for the 1966 album was actually supposed to be handheld and not built into the chest unit, that bit is the weapon. So the production crew did get that wrong, and I'm a stickler for continuity. I mean, I knew that there were going to be some discrepancies and that weren't going to be quite exactly the same, because it's been 51 years since those Cybermen last appeared. So they weren't going to be exactly the same, but I could have at least got that bit right, because I'd have thought that would have been obvious. You know, it's as if that the costume designers and the production crew and the writers didn't actually bother to watch the 10th Planet before making the story. It's like they only saw pictures of what those Cybermen looked like, and maybe watched a couple of clips of them talking so they can get the voice right, but didn't actually bother to watch the whole story. I'm sure they did watch the whole thing, but yeah, a little disappointed with that. Anyway, I've talked for way too long now. That's the end of 5 Minute React, or indeed 7, probably more like 8 or 9 minute react for this episode, and yeah, that's the end of the series. So that's been 12 weeks now of 5 Minute React. God, dear God, I'm going to have to think of some other videos to do now. No, I've got a couple more videos to come out. I've got a really long Alex vlog coming out soon, from a day out I've had, provided, unless I've already uploaded that by the time I upload this, because that's entirely possible. I've got a new Wellington Wonders coming out, and I'm looking to get, and now that I've finished doing 5 Minute React, I am hoping to get some more Alex vlog and Factoid and Wellington Wonders out, and hopefully a second Weatherman episode, because I haven't done that. Dear oh dear, my mouth is going all dry. Anyway, that's it for now, guys, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and who knows, hopefully come Christmas time there'll be time for another 5 Minute React for that Doctor Who, perhaps. Anyway, bye!